will tell you a little story about someone I met and who's a great friend of mine now, and she's from Scandinavia. She's from Sweden, or Sweden, if you were to talk to her about it. Her name is Anita. And I will find a good picture that I want to color, because you know when you buy a coloring book or you make your, you don't have to start with the first page and color your way another place. It's not like when I'm like my storybook. You can just go along until you find something that appeals to you. I have to admit, I kind of like this one here with the forest, and oh, those fish look good too. But oh, and a cuckoo clock. Ooh, I have a cuckoo. Well, I am a cuckoo. Anyway, so I'm gonna look through these and find one, and then I'll tell you about my friend Anita and how I met her. If you didn't know before, I'm a fourth grade. I was a fourth grade school teacher, and one of the things I like to teach about was history or social studies. And one of the times in history, America wasn't connected. In other words, the East Coast and the West Coast were filled with land, but they were not all connected together. So Lewis and Clark, which were two explorers, decided that they were going to make the distance from the East Coast to the West Coast, because they thought that there was a river that connected the east part of the country to the west part of the country. So if you sailed in from the Atlantic, they thought there was some river that would take you from the Atlantic over to the Pacific. So they went on a exploration, and that was a time when a lot of the people in the country were Native Americans, and there's a lot of open spaces, and it was not necessarily safe or easy. All right, and they took along with them a a huge dog, and this wonderful lady, and I will include her somewhere around here, wrote this book about Seaman the dog. And he was a Newfoundland dog. And Newfoundlands are huge. The Native Americans used to call them a bear dog because that's how big they are. And they took along one, and his name was Seaman. And he traveled along with them the entire time. And I thought it was a great book for kids to read, my students to read, while they were studying about the expansion of the United States. So I like this one. I think I'm going to go back to this one here. I think I'm going to do that one. And I hope you've gotten your book too. I hope you got your book out too. And hopefully I've got my scene back here. I'm hoping to have some kind of Scandinavian scene behind me. And I'm going to use colored pencils this time because my lines are very, very fine and small. And I think it would be hard to get my big crayons in there. You know, I've got my big super duper crayons. I've got my regular crayons. But I think this is a job for colored pencils. Anyway, so back to Seaman the dog and how I met my dear friend Anita. So I was driving one of my kids home from soccer practice, or I was coaching soccer, something like that. And I was coming home from soccer practice, and I was thinking about this book that I was going to be using to teach kids about the expansion of the United States, and something called Manifest Destiny that we believed in, that, you know, we're working on it now, the effects of it, but at the time it sounded like a good idea. And I'm driving down the street, and I'm thinking about how I'm using this dog, this Newfoundland, who I think is so engaging. And there's one walking down the street. There's a Newfoundland dog, a bear dog, walking down the street, being on the leash of this woman. So I was driving a station wagon at the time, and I drove up, and I said, "Excuse me." And I know that they may have thought I was crazy. She may have thought I was crazy. I said, "Excuse me, is that a Newfoundland?" And I was sitting in my car, and Oscar, the Newfoundland, was so big that when he sat down, his entire face fit inside my side window. And my daughter reached across me and gave Oscar some French fries. So Oscar stuck his face in my car, lapped up the French fries. He was humongous, but sweet and wonderful and loving, and that's how I met Miss Anita. And she let me have her phone number, and I was wanting her to bring her doggie to my classroom so the kids could see what a Newfoundland was like um, after we finished reading the book. And so she gave me her number, and then I eventually talked to her husband, Jack Witt, and he brought Oscar to school one day, and I will show you pictures of that encounter. And it was a magical day because my principal, who was wonderful, let us bring the doggie in, and he was like a world champion dog. He was beautiful and loving and sweet, and that is how I met my dear friend Miss Anita and my dear friend Jack, who since has passed away, and we're friends to this day. I talked to her a couple days ago, and she's from Sweden, and so Scandinavian. So when you go visit her house, she's got a lot of blue and white. It's beautiful, you know. It's very different from how my house is because I have Jamaican influences, and her house has Scandinavian influences, just like you see me coloring right here. So it's funny how you meet people and how they can be friends to this day. And my daughter ended up being super close to them, and she was a little girl at the time, or a young lady, and they became such good friends, and we enjoyed them, and we would go to their house, and they would cook these magnificent meals, and friends to them with them to this day. And Miss Anita has come to visit me in Jamaica 2 years ago, because here's what's unusual. When Miss Anita was a very young woman from Sweden, and she was married to this gentleman, and she had her two little kids, she lived in Jamaica for 2 years. Can you imagine that? Like, what would bring a woman from Sweden to Jamaica? But her husband had a job. I'm not exactly sure what he did, but he brought her and his two kids, and so they grew up for 2 years in Jamaica, and she always loved it and always wanted to come back. So she came back to visit several years ago. I was here for the summer, for summer vacation, but I didn't live here yet. That was before both of my parents got sick. I didn't live there yet. And she came and she spent some days with me, and then I ended up moving, being with her. I came back home to Houston when it was time to teach. Summer vacation was over, and we always did things together, and we went to a few events and plays and talks, and that's how you can make friends. You never know who you're going to meet. And when I get to another book that reminds me of a good friend of mine, I'll tell you about how you never know who you're going to meet. I think I told you a little bit about her, how I met her my first day of school in Brooklyn when I didn't know anybody and I talked funny. I think that's in a couple of videos ago. But I like this. These are the kind of colors that you find in Scandinavian pictures. pictures. They a lot of white and blue and yellow and bright greens and stuff like that. Now, Scandinavia is an area that is central Europe, but north. They have those days, where they have an entire day of sun and then it goes dark for an entire day because they're very close to the top of the world. And so it has created a culture that is very different from ours, but the same because a lot of people from Scandinavia have come to America to live. So that's why I chose this book today. It makes me feel a little closer to Miss Anita, though I probably am going to give her a call after this. But not feeling so cranky anymore. How about you? Are you feeling a little less cranky? I hope you got your colors out and are coloring with me, coloring your own stuff. Something about doing things together always makes me feel a little better. So one of the funny things about Anita is she has a friend who we've been to the movies a few times with, and her name is Agnieta. Agnieta, can you say that? Agnieta. And what's funny is that when I'm with the two of them, they forget I'm not Swedish. And they start speaking in Swedish. And so sometimes I'll just go, ja, because ja is yes in Swedish. And that's kind of the only word I know is ja. But sometimes they'll be talking and talking, and then it'll occur to them that I don't understand what they're saying. And they'll go, oh, Anmaree, I'm so sorry. But I'm just so happy to be with them that I don't get upset. They just think I'm Swedish. I'll go with it. So, but that's the thing about friendship. If you open yourself and you're very respectful to other people, you will get to meet some wonderful people in this lifetime. Okay? All right, so I hope that's something that you'll remember, and I hope that you're enjoying your coloring. I will put some coloring music on. timer. I hope you hear it too. And I have to do some other things today, but I have to admit I'm feeling better. And it was nice to think about Anita, and it was nice to think about Oscar the dog, and it was lovely to think about Jack, and the friends you can make when you're not looking to find friends, furry friends, Swedish friends, all kinds of friends. I hope you enjoyed Color Time. If you like these kind of videos, press subscribe, press like, and I will keep doing this. And so I hope you are having a great day. And remember, you can color in the evening, you can color in the morning, you can color anytime you need a break and a little time to yourself. You can color on the floor, you can color on the couch, you can color in the car, you can color anywhere. Just make sure, if you live in hot places, take your colors with you because they will melt together. That's another story I'll tell you at another time. All right, see you soon.